Have you ever heard the story of the ugly duckling? But what if that duckling never turned into a swan? Imagine a different version where true worth comes not from appearance but from resilience and a brave heart. And today, we will step into the journey of a very different little duck. Once upon a time, on a small farm by the village, under the bright summer sun, a mother duck patiently sat on her nest. She spent many long days dreaming of the moment when tiny cheep cheep sounds would fill the air. The farm was peaceful, with the breeze brushing through wildflowers. Frogs croaked by the pond, as if sharing her anticipation. Mother Duck whispered softly, "Everything will be fine. Soon my little ones will come into this world." One morning, golden sunlight bathed the farm. The eggs trembled softly, then crack, crack. Plump yellow ducklings popped out one after another. They wobbled on tiny feet, their down shining like sunlight. Mother Duck cried with joy, gathering her newborns under her wings. The whole farm seemed lively. Even the hens peeked over, clucking their congratulations. Tiny chirps echoed everywhere, marking a beginning full of life. But one egg still had not hatched. It was much larger than the others, its shell thick and heavy. Mother Duck waited patiently, day after day, her eyes full of hope. The little ducklings chirped eagerly, "Mom, why hasn't our sibling come out yet?" She gently answered, "Every child needs their own time." Then one afternoon, the egg trembled, shaking harder and harder. Everyone fell silent, waiting for a miracle. Crack, crack! The last egg finally broke. Out came a tall, gangly duckling, covered in gray feathers, with awkward wings. It looked completely different, gazing around with sad, searching eyes. The golden siblings whispered, "Why does it look so different from us?" Mother Duck froze for a moment, but spread her wings wide. "You are part of this family." The little duckling lowered its head, feeling both safe and frightened. Immediately, whispers spread across the yard. The chickens squawked, "Oh, look, how ugly it is!" A hen laughed, "Long beak, messy feathers. It doesn't look like a duck at all." Laughter spread through the farm, cutting into the young duckling's heart. It blushed, its heart pounding, wishing it could hide away. Mother Duck tried to shield it with her wings, but the mocking words lingered like sharp knives. Mother Duck gazed at her different child, filled with both love and worry. "You are just as precious as the others," she whispered. Though fear flickered in her eyes, she knew the world was harsh to anything that didn't fit in. The duckling pressed its head against her feathers, seeking warmth. But deep in its heart, it already sensed the loneliness waiting ahead. From morning to night, the duckling tried to follow its siblings, but whenever it got close, they scattered away. Some even pecked harshly at its back. "Go away, ugly thing!" The duckling stayed silent, lowering its head, never daring to argue. It wished just once to run and swim, together like the others. Yet each time it tried, it was pushed out of the circle. Its little heart grew heavier day by day. Night fell, and the farm was wrapped in darkness. The golden ducklings slept peacefully in their mother's embrace. The gray duckling hid quietly beside a haystack, its sad eyes glistening under the moon. It still heard the cruel laughter of the day, echoing like knives in its heart. The night wind blew through the barn, chilling its feathers. Curling up, it whispered to itself, "Why am I so different?" One morning, as the sun rose, the gray duckling quietly left the flock. Looking back at its mother, its eyes filled with tears. "Maybe I don't belong here." Its heart ached, but it was determined to find a place to call home. With trembling steps on the dirt road, it whispered, "Somewhere out there must be a place for me." And so, its journey began. Across the field, the duckling saw a fat cat dozing in the sun. Excited, it waddled closer. "Hello, may I sit with you?" The cat opened one eye, glaring sharply, and hissed, "Ugly thing, stay away from me." The duckling jumped back, heart sinking. "Even when I only want a friend," it thought sadly, "it seems impossible." It wandered on, crossing a small path, when a big dog growled. Trembling, the duckling said, "Please let me rest here for a while." The dog barked loudly. Get out! This place has no room for ugly freaks. The sound made the duckling panic, running as fast as it could. Gasping for breath, heart pounding, it felt the weight of its loneliness even more. After being driven away again and again, the duckling sank down by a ditch. The water reflected its gray, lonely figure. Maybe I truly don't belong anywhere, it thought, its vision blurred with tears. Yet a spark lit inside. I haven't found my place yet, but I will not give up. The sadness remained heavy, but a small flame of determination began to burn. One afternoon, by a pond, the duckling heard cheerful singing. On a small branch, a sparrow chirped. Hello, little duck. Why do you look so sad? The duckling hesitated. Everyone says I'm ugly. No one wants to be with me. The sparrow smiled. You don't need to look like anyone else. Just be yourself. Those words were like a warm breeze blowing away dark clouds. For the first time in days, the duckling smiled. It felt its heart lighten, as if someone finally understood. The sparrow fluttered around, singing more cheerful tunes. The duckling looked up at the sky, its eyes shining. Maybe there is still hope. The rippling water beneath the pond echoed softly, blending with the warmth rising in its chest. But the joy was short-lived, for the harsh winter arrived. Snow covered the fields, and winds cut like knives. The duckling shivered, its weak wings unable to keep warm. It searched desperately for shelter, but everywhere was frozen. The night grew darker, snow falling heavily, bearing the tracks it left behind. In its heart, it wondered, can I survive this? In desperation, the duckling found a haystack near the barn. It burrowed deep inside, wrapping dry leaves around its body for warmth. Each breath came out as a puff of white smoke in the icy air. The howling wind outside sounded like invisible monsters lurking nearby. But within the cold and darkness, the duckling forced its eyes shut, hoping morning would come. Night after night, snowstorms swept through. The wind whistled through the cracks of the barn, making the duckling tremble. Sometimes it thought, maybe I won't make it. But each morning, its eyes opened again. It was still alive. Every day of survival was a small victory. In hardship, it was learning resilience. Hungry, it risked venturing to the pond to catch fish beneath the ice. The freezing water numbed its legs, but it pushed on. Every bite of food it found felt like a treasure. It taught itself to live independently, relying only on its own strength. In hardship, it discovered an inner power it had never known before. Often, when it looked up at the winter sky, the duckling saw flocks of birds flying in formation. They beat their wings strongly, singing into the air. Tears welled up as it whispered, I'll never be like them. Yet it tightened its weak wings, determined, I must live. I cannot give up. In its sad gray eyes, a small flame of courage began to glow. At last, the endless winter passed. The duckling emerged from the freezing days, thinner but with brighter eyes. It had endured storms and still stood tall. Each step was clumsy, yet filled with strength. It realized, I have changed. I have grown stronger. Spring returned, filling the farm with songs of birds and breezes. Flowers bloomed, painting the land in color. The duckling looked at the clear sky and felt it was a new beginning. It decided to return to the farm where it was born. Its heart pounded, half afraid, half hopeful. When it returned, it still wore its gray feathers and walked awkwardly. But in its eyes, fear no longer lingered. Instead, there was confidence and strength. It was no longer the trembling duckling of last summer. Now, it was a survivor, brave and unyielding. The chickens in the yard whispered again, Look, the ugly duckling has come back. Some smirked, ready to mock as before. But the duckling no longer hid, no longer lowered its head. It walked straight and tall across the farmyard. The whispers suddenly lost their power. The duckling quietly stepped to the pond. It dove into the water, swimming with strong strokes, its wings stirring little waves. The cool water embraced its gray body, but this time, it felt no shame. Its heart raced, every stroke declaring, "I am myself." The animals around the pond watched in surprise, no longer mocking as before. An old goose, who had seen many winters, slowly nodded. "It's still different," the goose said, "but it's strong and resilient. That is what truly matters." The words echoed through the yard, silencing every creature. The duckling lifted its head, feeling recognized for the first time. A spark of pride began to grow inside. Day by day, the duckling did more than survive. It helped others. It taught the younger ducklings to swim, patiently guiding each one. When food was found, it shared freely, never keeping it all. These small acts slowly changed how others saw it. From being rejected, it had become a pillar of support for the flock. One summer morning, as the sun rose, the sky filled with beating wings. A flock of pure white swans soared overhead, magnificent and free. Every creature on the farm looked up in awe. The duckling also lifted its gaze, eyes shining, heart pounding. In that moment, memories of its lonely days rushed back. It saw the swans, breathtaking in their beauty, and whispered, "I will never be like them." A pang of sadness flickered, but then turned to calm. For it knew true worth wasn't about becoming someone else. The days of hardship had taught it something greater, to accept itself. It smiled, its eyes glistening in the morning sun. "That no longer matters. I am myself, and that is enough." The whisper rang like a vow, carved deep into its soul. A wildflower swayed gently by the pond, as if agreeing with the words. In its small heart, peace finally bloomed. From that day on, the duckling lived happily on the farm. No more mocking voices, only kind greetings. It swam with the flock, taught the young, and shared joy with friends. The heart once lonely was now full of warmth. The little farm itself grew kinder, inspired by its example. Once called ugly, the duckling had now become the pride of the entire farm. Its story reminded everyone that appearance does not define worth. True strength lies in resilience, kindness, and the courage to live as oneself. And so, the different little duck left behind a different ending, one of freedom and happiness.